There is absolutely no reason to build the Amazing Spider-Man in Standard. But considering the lack of official Commander decks, it's pretty clear that we got the cycle of 5 legendary modal transforming double-faced cards in the Spider-Man set as a cycle of commanders. Each of them has their own unique puzzles to solve in the deck building process and playstyle just in general, as you would expect from a decently designed cycle of commanders. And my first and favorite is Amazing Spider-Man. I am an aggressive, spiky player at heart, but I do absolutely love a deck based around playing a million creatures and then bouncing those creatures back to hand and slowly building up a massive stockpile of value left over on the board while never running out of things to do. It's the perfect deck to play around a table of friends, before suddenly realizing your takeaway has arrived and it's time to eat, so I might as well alpha strike the entire board and end the game in a single hit. The Amazing Spider-Man's game plan is relatively straightforward. You want to use the colored legendary spells you cast have web slinging white, blue, green as often as possible. Now, there are several things that we have to get through to do this. The first and most important and most overlooked by Commander players in general is mana base. And let me say, for this deck, more than any other deck in this cycle, you're going to need so many sources of any color of mana. To put it simply, this is because if we consult the writings of Frank Karsten, praise be to the mathematicians who do all this work for us, it turns out that casting something for white, blue, green is actually pretty hard to do efficiently. And even more difficult is the secret actual goal of this deck. To get to turn 6, have Amazing Spider-Man on the board, and double web sling our cards into play. In order to do this, we need to, on turn 6, have white, white, blue, blue, green, green exactly. And I'm just going to state the numbers outright. In a 41 land deck, you need 9 sources of each 2 color pair and 14 lands that generate at minimum white, green, and blue. And since there are only, 4 lands in all of Commander that generate only white, blue, green, that means you're going to be playing a lot of prismatic lands. Luckily, you don't have to shell out for a City of Brass. There are multiple sources of multicolored mana that do exactly what we want for our game plan. If you're not already playing a copy of Springleaf Drum in your Commander deck that just happens to have creatures because it's an incredible piece of mana acceleration, obviously we want to play this in the deck that wants to generate multicolored mana and needs a bunch of tapped creatures on the board specifically to pay for our incredible cheated web slinging abilities. And the Springleaf Drum effects are not limited to just appearing on creatures and artifacts. There are also several lands that are quite cheap, that have the same effect and let you tap your creatures, which is a thing that we want to do because we don't want to have to attack, exposing our creatures to combat damage and combat-based removal in order to cheat them back to our hand to recast for value. Survivor's Encampment is a common. You might just have one and not realize it. Go through your chaff sometime. Chaff is actually really, really good for making Commander decks do everything that we want them to do. And the thing that we want to do is cheat out giant creatures. Be aggressive and play the Tarrasque, other giant Craterhoof Behemoth style huge green creatures that let you end the game quickly and decisively. Or if you're playing at a table that doesn't like aggression, play Avacyn or Ionia. Just absolutely obnoxious cards that make it impossible to interact with your board in any meaningful way. These are cards that you are almost never going to be hard casting, but that's okay. This is a deck based entirely around the idea of never hard casting anything that isn't accelerating our game plan in some way. But on the off chance that you are slowed down in some way, it is important to play interaction in a Commander deck, and while you could be playing normal removal, board clears, I have to shout out the 2 perfect cards that absolutely must be in every single Amazing Spider-Man deck. Glare of Subdual and Opposition, which is just Glare of Subdual but blue. And is also way ruder because it can tap people's lands. Don't do that, it will get you kicked out of your table. Now, it should be noted that if you're doing Plan A, cheat out giant attacking creatures, you're not going to be using as much of the Glare of Subdual and Opposition type interaction. Because you don't have spare creatures hanging around, you're using them to efficiently and quickly put giant threats onto the board. Which is why Plan B is cheat out legendary token generators so that you have tokens lying around on the board all of the time. Instead of putting down a house payment, buy a Koma the Cosmos Serpent, one of the most incredibly rude blue-green commander cards ever printed. Or just cast some Planeswalkers, one of 1,000 different Elspeths for 3 mana, yes please. I would like more soldier tokens than I will ever know what to do with. And if you are wondering how we are going to access all of these cards, you may have noticed a theme here. We're cheating out big spells by paying small amounts of mana for them. That's right, this is an Up the Beanstalk deck. Apologize to your table in advance. There are going to be plenty of other cards that you can play with the same sort of effects, letting you draw cards whenever you cheat something out. Helga Skittish Seer is a fantastic commander that you might have already had a deck for, and you can just swap her into the 99 and have Amazing Spider-Man as your front card instead. But Up the Beanstalk is a singular mistake of a card, and there is a reason that it is banned in Standard. If you've ever lost a Beanstalk in any format, you can express your solidarity by liking the video and subscribing to the channel. And the final mode of this deck is perhaps the most obvious, but should not go unstated. Legendary Enters the Battlefield loops. I suppose I could be saying enters loops, but I actually have gotten so used to Enters the Battlefield that it just feels better to say. Play a copy of Yorion Sky Nomad. Enjoy the fact that it just does insane things to the board, and also is hybrid banner, so it will be easier to cast than your actual commander. Play huge kicker creatures, like Slyn Voda, the Rising Deep, a card very clearly balanced around the fact that you will first be paying 8 mana before you pay its 2 mana kicker cost to bounce the entire board, and is incredibly obnoxious if you are instead paying 3 mana before paying its 2 mana kicker cost, because yes, you can do that. The Amazing Spider-Man is by far the most flexible and creative of the Spider-Man commander cycle. Build Legendary Beatdown, build Group Hub, just lock down the entire table with opposition all the time, and have 2 extra colors in your stacks deck. The choice is yours.